Doing a third function on the M7040. The valve installation is pretty straightforward. This bracket just goes between the same bracket that holds the hydraulic fittings for the rest of the loader and the loader frame. The hoses were pretty straightforward. This guard has to come off, the big guard here, and don't be tricked by the larger bolts here and here. It's actually just the smaller bolt here and then the two in the back right here and right here. Once that guard's off, you can see that there's a hose that goes from this block back here up to the loader valve's green port. And so basically you just, this is the green port, is this lower one right here. You loosen this nut on this O-ring boss fitting to be able to swivel this guy around, and then you attach a length of new hose onto that as provided in the kit. And that's hard to see with the lighting, but it's basically this junction right here. That's the old hose coming up. This is the new hose. That comes up to the P port on the electric valve, and the T gets a new line that runs outbound and then goes back down to where your old one came off of the block down there. And then of course the lines up front just have clips to guide them down the loader. There's pre-mounted bosses here. I did have to chase the threads. They're metric with a tap, just because the age of this particular tractor, they were kind of rusted out. And then there's a bracket here that mounts there at the little guard for these other pieces. The electric has been a little less forthcoming. I found in the manual a list of all the different fuses that are on this block, and one of them is called auxiliary power. And then I removed this shroud right here by loosening, shouldn't say I haven't removed it, I just loosened it. Pulled out the big Phillips screw right here, and then a tiny little Phillips screw that is accessible when the hood is open on a piece that protrudes through right in there. So that allows me to move this piece out. There's a proprietary connector on the wire harness that's in that area, but it looks like it uses 1/4" tabs. So if I can verify that that's a switched input with my meter here, then I will pull the fuse for the auxiliary power, verify that that's out, and that'll let me know that that's the auxiliary plug. Alright, so verified that there is no voltage with the switch in the off position. Switch in the on position, that's 12 volts, that's good. Well, that's the fuse, and that's the volts. So that wasn't it. This 15 amp right here should be it. So I'm going to try that and see if it works. Aha, that's great. So I think I found the auxiliary power. It's just right there, right where I need it. So that's awesome. And now I'm going to see if a 1/4" fast on tab will fit into that proprietary connector so I don't have to cut it off, because, you know, I hate to cut off a factory connector. Some more great news. The 1/4" spade tab fits in there just fine. I'll just crimp it onto the wire and stick it in there, and it'll be like my own little connector. Awesome. I guess we got to see who's plus and minus. I forgot already. Let's put the multimeter leads on and see. So that's positive 12 volts. Verified that the other way is negative. It is. So on this connector, the one that I want to connect to is the one that's the mouth of the skeleton there. So coming out of the electric valve, we have the one red wire that we've connected to the positive. The second lead coming out of the hydraulic valve here is the switch. So we have the yellow, the blue, and the green. There's the handle that comes with it, but I have one of those on the little tractor and don't like it so much. I got this Scorpion fancy thing here And so it has the 2 buttons. You can get them any number of ways, but the theory is that this is wired in such a way that even pressing both buttons won't hurt anything to press them both at the same time, but pressing one will open, pressing one will close. And so out of their handle we get a handful of leads, and then out of the WR long kit we have this bundle of 3 that are kind of tied together in this nice sturdy black sheath. And so all the wires that come out of this fuse box run down this loom through this clamp. I've run my red one through there just to keep it tidy. I'm going to try and find a way to fish my wire as close as I can to that loom and then pop it out under the seat and then come around and come up here to the valve. And then once we're in that area, I'll worry about making the electric investigation to figure out who needs to go to who. Turned out to be pretty straightforward to get that triplet of wires fed back on top of, I guess you'd call that kind of the main gray part of the tractor. I don't know what you call that anyway. So then I pushed it through this little loom clamp, which is one of these little bendy things. Let's see, it's right there. And now I just got to figure out how to turn the corner, bring it up by the loader valve. So this turned out to be quite no trouble at all to run the wire, because there's this little boot, fabric boot that the linkages for the loader valve run through. So I just pushed the wire up through there and then kind of pulled along until I got it to the right length. And I'll get everything wired up and make sure it works, then we'll tidy it all up with zip ties. But I think first it's time to do some investigation on this Scorpion to figure out what the how the colors correspond to the switches. So coming out of the Scorpion valve here, there are, or the Scorpion handle, all these different wires, but the only ones that seem to matter are the blue, seems to be the common between the switches, and the brown and the white. And so I'll connect the yellow to the blue, the yellow off the valve to the blue on the Scorpion, and then I'll regroup to decide which button's which. I almost forgot to run the wire through the boot before I made the connections. We did that, and I came up through this piece. Yellow on the WR valve to blue on the Scorpion valve, white on the Scorpion valve to blue on the WR long, and then brown on the Scorpion to green on the WR long. And if for some reason I feel like I want the buttons to be reversed, I can switch the couplers around on the front end, because it's just a open a valve, close a valve.